This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the bottom feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I have another Best of Bob Lowry for you. And in this episode, we're going to talk about what happens when you put cal-hypo in a pool and it develops a black stain. And Bob Lowry is going to go over the cause of that and some solutions for that. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. Here's another what if. A lot of people are using some kind of copper to kind of compensate for the chlorine shortage. You add a bag of cal-hypo to the pool, and all of a sudden, pretty much instantly, you notice a black stain on the bottom of the pool.
Right.
And, what do you do in that situation, and what causes that?
Well, the first thing is that it probably scare you to death because what goes through your mind is, oh my God, I'm going to have to drain this pool and acid wash it for free, but so don't be nervous about that. It's okay. There are some things you can do, but the reason that it happens is that there's already a stain on the bottom of the pool and you didn't know it. And usually the stain is copper. And it's copper sulfate, and it's kind of a blue color. The water's blue, and especially at a depth of 3 or 6 feet, it's hard to see that it's a little bit blue down there, or blue-green, because the water's blue. So you can't see it, but when the chlorine hits it, it actually, the sulfate, because it has less energy or less potential, the oxygen from the chlorine makes its way into and gets rid of the sulfate, and you end up with copper oxide instead of copper sulfate. And copper oxide is black. The black is caused from copper being on the bottom of the pool. And just like you would take care of any stain, you can try to use ascorbic acid, which is one of the good ones for removing a stain, but it's not so good at keeping the stain from coming back. So understand about sequestering agents and chelating agents. They surround metal that's in the water and prevent it from combining with something else so it will precipitate or cause a stain. But the molecule itself is a man-made molecule and is subject to degradation from sunlight, called photodegradation, and from chlorine, just from it being oxidized, and from non-chlorine shock, or from UV, or an ozone generator, or even AOP. Any of those things are oxidizers, and they will reduce the sequestering agent. When the sequestering agent is reduced, the metal is again free to combine with things and cause a stain. So these sequestering agents don't get rid of the metal. Even if you use ascorbic acid and you get the stain off the wall, the metal's still in the water, especially with ascorbic acid. As soon as you chlorinate, you wipe out the ascorbic acid and the metal's free again to go back to being a stain. So you need to get the metal out of the pool. There's only a couple of ways to do it. You can either use a thing called the Q-Lator or see you later, whichever way you want to pronounce it. But the Q-Lator in a bag or a little cage can remove it, but bear in mind that it may take a week or 10 days to get rid of it if you put something in the skimmer. You can use one of their pre-filters, and as I said, use a separate pump and pump the water through one of their pre-filters and back into the pool, and within a few hours you can get the metal level down. But you need to understand that if you sequester it, you're going to need to keep adding sequestering agent. As it degrades, you need to replace it. And the bottle of the product that you have will tell you how often you need to put it in. And they may say you need to put it in once a week, once a month, once every 2 weeks, or whatever. It's not because they want you to keep using the product. They do want you to keep using it, but they want you to keep the metal from causing a stain. And they don't want to get a bad name. They don't want to say, well, customer said, I used this product and stain came back in a week. Well, the stain came back because you didn't do what the label said and add it again next week. It's better to get rid of the metal if you can. The only other way to get rid of the metal, of course, is to drain some water and refill it.
And also, as a side note, I would tell that pool tech to stop using cal-hypo in that pool, just as a hedge their bet.
Well, what you may want to do is dissolve some of the cal-hypo in a bucket of water and then disperse it around the pool evenly or in front of a return line or something so that it gets dissolved instead of falling to the bottom and hanging out on the bottom. That's probably not good for any pool.
Yeah, probably not.
To leave a chemical sitting on it for very long, any chemical.
Here's one, and this happens a lot with a lot of new pool techs. What if you see algae in the pool, maybe a little bit on the step area, maybe a little bit in the deep end, but you really do nothing to treat it? You don't raise the chlorine up. You may brush it, but you won't do anything like add an algicide. What would happen in a pool like that where you're kind of ignoring the algae problem the first week you see it?
Well, understand that algae, it multiplies by cell division. So 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 32, and so on. It means that one algae could actually become 1 million in about 60 hours. So if you have algae enough that you can actually see it, it could be almost 1 million times larger by the time you come back if it's a week later. So, and it would take a huge amount more of algicide or chlorine to kill it. Once you see algae, by the way, that means that it's dense enough that you can see it. If you looked at only a little bit of algae in the pool, you actually can't see it. So you may have algae growing on your pool right now and don't know it. But as soon as you see it, now you see it, by the time you see it, it's already colonized and mature. And it's starting to, once it colonizes and matures, it secretes a clear dome over itself called polysaccharide. And that saccharide is difficult for chlorine and other things to get through it. It's a protective mechanism. So it's difficult to get chlorine to go through that. And that's one of the reasons that we want to brush the pool. Even if there's nothing on what you think is nothing on the walls, brush the pool and you will break up that polysaccharide and allow your chlorine to get into the algae that's growing on there that you can't see. You either need to brush the pool or vacuum, and don't just keep vacuuming the pool. We need to brush it, and it should be brushed. If you're going to brush the pool, you brush it first and then vacuum. But many times you brush it and then vacuum, and that's a good business to get into. It keeps algae from adhering to the walls, and it breaks up the slime layer once it starts to grow.
And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. And that reminds me, my son likes to tell his friends this one. He said, would you rather me give you $1 million or pay you 1 penny a day and double it for 30 days? And that's kind of like that algae, how it multiplies. Because if you get that 1 penny and double it every day for 30 days, it's more than getting $1 million in payment. So he likes to kind of trick his friends with that little one there. And that reminds me of, a rookie mistake is not to treat the algae and ignore it, or not to think it's a big deal, because you come back the following week and it's a big deal by not treating it when you first see it.
And it is a big deal. And even though you can see it in one spot, it may be growing, it may be spread out and growing in a lot of other spots.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't turned green yet.
Yeah. Here's one. What if you swim in a pool and there's zero chlorine in there? And this could happen at any stage where maybe you're not paying attention to the chlorine level if you're a homeowner and you're not checking your chlorine often. But what happens to a person who swims in a pool where there's no chlorine in the pool? Maybe they're in there for an hour.
Well, of course, what it has to do with is your potential to get a disease. And what that has to do with is who has been in the pool before you and how long has it been and so on, because bacteria grow faster than algae does. One can become 1 million in about 8 hours. And the average person brings in about 100 million bacteria with them when they come in. One of the goals, the thing that we are trying to prevent in maintaining safe water is what we call bather-to-bather disease transmission. And what that means is you get in the water and you leave off your 100 million bacteria, and then I get in the water. And what protects me from your bacteria, and vice versa, because I get in the water and my 100 million get off of me and head for you. So what protects both of us from making each other sick? And that's called bather-to-bather disease transmission. And the only thing that stands between us to prevent that is the chlorine residual. That's it. Or sanitizer residual if you're not using chlorine. But something has to protect us from infecting each other. The residual of chlorine is the only thing that does that. And so if there's no residual, then all the bacteria that's been in that water and for however long it's had a chance to grow is open season on you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be affected by a lot of it. And surely, the 100 million bacteria that's on you, probably a very small percentage of it is something that would make me sick, because we all have bacteria on us. Mm-hmm. And all bacteria is not necessarily bad. So it's only the ones that are disease causing that are a problem. So you may not have any disease causing bacteria on you, but then, as most people do, they get water in their mouth, they don't want to swallow it, so they spit it back out, or their nose runs or whatever, and they may pee a little, or pass a little gas or something in the water. And so there you have it. Now you have bacteria that can cause a disease, and they multiply pretty quickly. The residual is the protection. That shield needs to be there. If you go swimming someplace that you're not sure of, the best thing you can do when you get out is to immediately, or as soon as you can, take a warm shower. Doesn't have to be a hot shower, but a warm shower. And the reason is that usually your pores are open when you're swimming, and you're exercising, the water's warm, so your pores are kind of opened up. And when you get out of the pool, your pores kind of close up because it's windy and you get kind of chilled when you get out. What you do is you go take a warm shower, and if you can use some soap, that's great, but at least use some warm water that will open up the pores that you have, and it will flush out whatever's on there so it doesn't get trapped in your pores. And so, once it's in your pores, it can make it into your body and your bloodstream and so on. If we can rinse that off as soon as you get out, then your chance of having a disease from getting in there is shortened.
Yeah, it's good advice for anyone that has that, or if they ever get in a pool with no chlorine, to rinse in warm water to kind of help them from getting sick, if they had the potential of being sick from swimming in there. If you're looking for other podcasts, you can go to my website, swimmingforlearning.com. On the banner, there's a podcast icon. Click on that. There'll be over 1,900 podcasts for you to download or listen to at your leisure. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolcoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week. God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.